Zama, what kind of question you're asking me so in light of a new government?
Good morning, assemblers and Tobago, the greatest little island on the planet. Welcome to Money Talk with Madam Secretary. I am your host, Zama Chapman, your 2025 Primary Plenary Chief Secretary, and a proud student of the Lambo Anglican Primary School. And let me tell you, today's episode is going to be a special one. Joining me is a true history maker, the first ever female secretary for the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, Councillor Petal and Roberts. Secretary Roberts, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Zama. It's a pleasure to meet you. Actually, I thought you were going to Scarborough Methodist School like your siblings, but it's good to hear that you are representing Lambo Anglican School, and you're doing quite a fantastic job. I am very well, thank you.
Thank you. All right, viewers today. Today's topic is something very, very big that affects every single Tobagonian, including us, kids. We're talking about Tobago's upcoming budget presentation on June 23rd, 2025. But before we get into all the serious stuff, Secretary Roberts, could you explain or break down what is really a budget and what is the budget day all about?
Well, the budget is really a statement of the revenues and expenditure. So you go to Lambo Anglican School.
Yes, I do.
And the resources at the school, the state provides it. So as secretary, I release funds to the Division of Education, and they provide the resources. I don't know if you all have blackboards, so the chalk, some of your books, some of the resources, even to pay your teachers.
Oh,
The resources come from the Division of Finance. So what I do, I have to plan every year, and that is what the budget is. It's actually a plan of what we expect to spend next year and the revenues we expect to receive. So it's revenues versus expenditure.
Oh, okay.
So we get revenues. You know where we get revenues from? We get revenues from two sources.
The
The
national
government, national government gives us, and we collect revenues right here downstairs at the Board of Inland Revenue. We also have a cashier system, a treasury management system downstairs where we collect non-tax revenues. So we collect our monies from revenues, non-tax revenues, and the government, central government, the Ministry of Finance actually sends a check to us so that we can spend. So the budget is really a plan of what we intend to spend for next fiscal year. The fiscal year starts from October to September. So October 1st, we are in a new year. It's called a fiscal year. It's not a calendar year like January. We start our year in October and we end in September. So this fiscal 2025 will end on September 30th, 2025. And we start a new year in the life of the Assembly on October 1st, 2025.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it, kids. A perfect and clear explanation. Now, let's jump into the real questions. Councillor Roberts, you have made history as the first ever female secretary for the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy. That's a huge milestone. Can you share with us what that journey has felt like for you personally?
You know, Zama, interestingly, on June 20th, it would make 1 year since I became Secretary of Finance. I was actually installed on June 20th last year. It has been an interesting journey, challenging. I'm indeed proud. I am humbled by the opportunity. I want to thank the Chief Secretary for, you know, the confidence that he has in me to take up this position. The most challenging thing is to balance running an economy. I have a family, I have 3 sons, I have a husband, I have a home, I have a small business. So managing all of that can be a challenge. But I depend on God solely for the strength and the courage to do the task. So I'm up to it, and so far I think I'm doing a fantastic job.
Very well. Well, on that same note, what have been some of your biggest challenges that you have faced, and what is your proudest moment?
Biggest challenge I've faced so far is meeting the development needs of this island. You know, when you go to Trinidad, you would recognize how far behind we are in terms of development. And I wish that I could get all the resources, both financial resources, technical resources. I wish people's attitude can be different. I wish their attitude can be like mine, that you passionately want to see Tobago advance, Tobago grow, Tobago be enhanced. So my challenge is still seeing some of the shortfalls remain. I have not been able to meet some of them just yet. Managing very limited resources is another challenge. We only received $205 million, and that is not a lot of money in terms of where we want to see Tobago go. So managing $205 million and trying to get the most out of it is indeed a challenge for me. Proudest moment, when entrepreneurs, business people are under my remit. It's my mandate to see them thrive, to see them grow. And when I hear entrepreneurs come to me and say that they have gotten big deals, big business opportunities, those are my proudest moments. Monday for me, I'm excited for that because I think I'll be most proud about that. Last year, though, I did present the revised budget of the Assembly. We have two budgets in Tobago. We do a budget in June, and then we do another revised budget. After the national budget is being read, we revise our budget in line with the numbers, in line with the real allocations that will come to Tobago. So I did that last year, but the actual Tobago budget, I am presenting that next week, Monday, and I'm not there yet, but I still feel proud that I have that opportunity to do that. So my proudest moments are to see entrepreneurs grow and thrive, and some of them come to me, they come back and they give me the testimonies of the growth of their businesses, the opportunities that they have been able to seize, and that I feel extremely proud of.
Oh wow, yes, that's a very good thing to feel proud of. Seeing others thrive, not only you.
Yes, correct.
And what advice would you give to girls, young girls and women like me who want to step into positions that are dominated by men?
Don't ever shortchange yourself. Don't ever think that you can't. There's a quote by Zig Ziglar that says, your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude. It means that how you think, not your natural abilities, how you think, how you present yourself, those are the things that allow you to soar, to get far in life. I really think that my attitude actually got me to this position. It's not necessarily the skill that I have. I am an accountant by profession. And my second thing is, and it should have really been my first, to put God at the forefront of your life. Allow God to chart your course. Allow Him to be in charge of your destiny. Allow yourself to decrease and for God to increase in your life. That is what I would want to tell young girls like you, right? I want to encourage you to do your best. Remember your attitude, not your aptitude. You have a natural ability to speak and you are very articulate, but your attitude is most important in that. So that will hone, your attitude will hone your aptitude and allow you to get very far in life. But I also want to encourage you to put God at the forefront of your life and let Him lead you to where He wants you to go.
Yes. But before we go into question number 2, young girls, I have a very important scripture for you. Taken from Philippians chapter 4 verse 13. My mother always used to make me, well, not used to, still does make me say that every morning when I wake up. Philippians chapter 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So don't let anybody tell you you can't be the next chief secretary because it's a man position. But you can do all things through God, and if you put him first, you can succeed. Right, let's move on. If Tobago becomes fully autonomous, like what the THA is asking for, would our economy grow or would it struggle?
Definitely it would grow. Zama, right now we cannot make laws for ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to depend on the central government to do that for us. To get autonomy, the central government is the one that has to go to the parliament, it has to go to the house in Trinidad for them to pass that law for us. To amend the constitution that governs us, we have to also go to Trinidad. Autonomy will give us not full lawmaking powers, but to some extent in the things that concern you and me here in Tobago. Also, the resources that we have, we will have full control over it. So for instance, I had to go to Trinidad last week or week before to negotiate with the Minister of Finance at the mid-year. The mid-year is where at the middle of the fiscal year, we go back to the Parliament to increase the allocations for the ministries and for Tobago. I think with autonomy, it would give us more assurances and more protection for Tobagonians to do whatever we want to see this island become the greatest little island on the planet. There is so much that we'll be able to do with autonomy. In Trinidad, for instance, public servants, that is their employer. It's in Trinidad. Trinidad governs that. For a promotion, for an increase in salary, everything has to go to Trinidad. But with autonomy, we will be able to handle those affairs for ourselves. So most definitely, I don't see us struggling as we are struggling now. I think that we will get to a better place, a better standard of living. We'll have more powers. We'll have more empowerment as a people.
Oh, okay. So you see, autonomy would not bring us economic uncertainty, but it would give us more power to protect our economy and grow. Question number 3. Do you believe that Tobago is underfunded and overpromised by Trinidad's central government?
Zama, what kind of question you're asking me so in light of a new government? I would say we are underfunded. Let me explain to you why. We have a formula that we use now to determine the resources that Tobago should receive. The formula is, you know, percentages, right?
Yes, I do.
The percentage of Tobago's population to the national population right now is 5.1%. So of every 100 persons in Tobago, in Trinidad, there are 5 in Tobago. And therefore, we should really receive 5.1% at minimum of all the resources in Trinidad and Tobago. So for instance, if the government decides we're going to spend $100 in Trinidad, we should have $5 allocated to Tobago because of our population size. Over the last 25 years, we have only received $4.3%, and that is insufficient. So we are grossly underfunded for that very reason. So I expect in the upcoming budget, the national budget, that the government will give us at minimum 5.1%. Actually, in the budget that I will present on Monday, that will be my minimum request to the government. Your question was if we are underfunded?
And overpromised.
Overpromised? I would say so. You know, time and time again, governments, the central government say that we want to treat Tobago well. Everybody wants to see Tobago thrive. Tobago is an island that has so much potential. Trinidadians come here to vacation. They come here, they do business here. You know, a lot of our business comes from Trinidad. And everybody wants to see Tobago thrive. But the proof is in the pudding. They need to walk the talk. We are tired of talk, we are tired of promises, and I think it's about time we see tangible investments into Tobago's economy. So to answer to your question is yes, we are underfunded and we have been overpromised over the last year. So, but autonomy, I think changing the constitution and giving Tobago autonomy will have an impact on changing that for us.
Yes. Well, viewers, you kind of heard a little insight of what Miss Roberts is going to be presenting on June the 23rd. Right. When Tobago receives its funds from Trinidad, how do you make sure that the divisions get a fair share?
Right. So, you know, I wish I could show you on paper how the budget is presented. So it's presented via words. So they would state exactly what they're going to what they're going to give us in words. But that is translated into figures as well. So there is a budget book where every single division and every single line item is allocated a specific amount. So divisions will say, we want $100 million. That's in education. They would ask for $100 million. That will go down to Trinidad and they would look at the previous expenditure, they will look at our priority, they will look at our needs. And they may not give us $100 million, they may give us $60 million. But that 60 is disaggregated into several line items. That's what divisions get. In October, when the budget is read, we know exactly what the government is saying each division should get. But as Secretary of Finance, and the other secretaries and the chief secretary, we sit and have a discussion to reprioritize if that is sufficient for education. So we will take from other divisions and other areas if it is necessary. And we will reduce in some cases on some divisions and give to another. So we reprioritize and we reshift and we recalibrate the budget, the numbers, and that is how we ensure that all divisions get what they need.
All right, very, very, very good.
I hope you understand everything.
Yes, I do.
Very good.
Okay, let's move on very quickly because we're almost done.
Okay.
What steps are being taken to build up our own industries and depend less on importing everything from Trinidad?
Well, in my budget on Monday, if you listen, you would recognize that one of the sectors that I intend to give attention to is agriculture. I believe food security and food sovereignty is very important to us. There were days when Tobago was the breadbasket of the nation, Trinidad and Tobago, and I think we need to get back to that place. So I will ensure that there are targeted and specific programs, projects, and initiatives geared towards agriculture, fishermen, farming, agro-processing. All of these sectors will have special attention so that we can reduce importing and buying goods from foreign. We don't want to eat Tyson chicken. We want local chicken being bred here in Tobago and sold to our citizenry. So I will ensure that entrepreneurs have the resources, the monies. I will invest in them through the Division of Finance. We have programs where we give grants, we give loans, and we give technical assistance. Because sometimes business people don't know how to run a successful business. So I will be also having training for these entrepreneurs to ensure that they run successful businesses. And that in turn will reduce the number of goods that we buy overseas. Also, we can have collaborations with other Caribbean islands. We can do trade. We can trade local products rather than bringing in apples and grapes. Nothing is wrong with apples and grapes. But the local foods, we can trade. We can get them from our Caribbean neighbors and we can also sell. So that would give us foreign currency so that we can also utilize that to thrive in our economy.
Yes, okay. Right, so you heard what Miss said. She said that they are starting a program to help young entrepreneurs and even old entrepreneurs, you don't have to be any age, entrepreneurs, to help them build their businesses.
Yes.
Counselor, the cost of living is really, really high. Trust me, when I go to the grocery store with mommy, $500 for picking up 3 things. Gas is high, food is high, everything is high. What is the THA doing to help people with that?
Well, as I did indicate, same thing.
Look alive, Tobago. It's time to hear this administration's financial plans for the next fiscal year. That's right, Tobago's budget. And leading the charge, we have none other than Tobago's first female sitting Secretary of Finance, Trade and Economy, Councillor Petal Ann Roberts. The People's House will convene on June 23, 2025 from 10 a.m. for the 42nd sitting of the 2021 to 2025 session of the Tobago House of Assembly. Our doors are open and all media channels are clear. You can either come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it.
Let us now pray. O Almighty God, as we have come together to begin our meeting of the Assembly, we humbly beseech you to grant to all our members the light and guidance of your Holy Spirit, that we may wisely take counsel together and come to such decisions as shall promote your glory and the well-being of all our citizens in this our land, so that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be enjoyed by all people. Grant this for the sake of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Honorable members, you may be seated.
Oath of allegiance of a new member. Announcements by the presiding officer.
Honorable members, I have received leave of absence from today's sitting from Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin and Assemblyman Terence Baines. The leaves are granted.
Assembly bills sent back from Cabinet. Assembly laws brought back from Parliament. Petitions, papers.
Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I stand to lay the following papers. Monthly Budget Report as at the end of March 2025. Monthly Budget Report as at the end of April 2025. The Tobago House of Assembly Financial Statement for the financial year ended September 30th, 2018. Tobago House of Assembly Financial Statement for the financial year ended September 30th, 2019. Tobago House of Assembly Financial Statement for the financial year ended September 30th, 2020. Tobago House of Assembly Financial Statement for the financial year ended September 30th, 2021. Tobago House of Assembly financial statement for the financial year ended September 30th, 2022. Tobago House of Assembly financial statement for the financial year ended September 2023. Also, the budget statement for the financial year 2026. Tobago House of Assembly draft estimates of revenue for the financial year 2026. Tobago House of Assembly draft estimates details of the development program, unemployment relief program for the year ended 2026, and the Tobago House of Assembly draft estimates of recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2026. Thank you very much.
Presentation of reports from Dispute Resolution Commission, Select Committees.
Standing Order Committee, I stand to lay the first report of the Standing Order Committee of 2021 to 2025.
Chief Secretary's questions. Questions to secretaries. Questions for all answer. Requests for leave to move the adjournment of the Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance. Statement by secretaries or assistant secretaries. Personal explanations. Introduction of bills. Motions relating to the business or sittings of the Assembly and moved by a secretary or assistant secretary. Public business. Motion.
Councillor Petalan Robert, Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy. You know.
Madam Presiding Officer, Chief Secretary, Deputy Chief Secretary, Secretaries, Assistant Secretaries, Minority Leader and other members of the House of Assembly, Chief Administrator and other administrators, senior staff of the Tobago House of Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the public gallery, local and international audiences following this presentation on radio, television, and other live streams, members of the media, a warm and uplifting good morning. Madam Presiding Officer, it is a tremendous honor and a privilege for me to stand before you in this honorable house and present the fourth budget installment of this administration. This is my maiden budget presentation and the first to be presented by a female Secretary of Finance in the 45-year history of the Tobago House of Assembly. Madam Presiding Officer, I am certain that this momentous event will be an impactful inspiration for many other hardworking and ambitious females in Tobago and across the globe. Madam Presiding Officer, it is my task today, is made much easier on the rich foundation laid by the Honorable Chief Secretary, who professionally led the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, which I now lead. It is fitting for me to seize the opportunity here to express my thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Chief Secretary for vesting his confidence in me and affording me the privilege and opportunity to serve the people of Tobago in the capacity as Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy. I want to also thank my colleagues, secretaries and assistant secretaries for your overwhelming support, encouragement, prayers, and contributions to this statement. Similarly, I wish to express heartfelt gratitude to the senior public officers across the divisions of the Assembly for their support and dedicated service. It will be remiss of me not to make special mention of my technical team, office and personal staff in the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, and the Office of the Chief Secretary, Department of Planning, who worked assiduously in preparing today's budget statement and all the accompanying documents. I also want to say thanks to all the stakeholder groups and individuals who took the time to participate in the budget consultation process for their invaluable submissions, both in person and through the online platform. I want to publicly say thank you to my dearest husband and my children for their loyal support, understanding, and unrelenting encouragement. Finally, and most importantly, I want to thank God for his mercies and his grace, for strengthening me with the patience, the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding to effectively and efficiently discharge the duties and responsibilities to the benefit and upliftment of the people of Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, it is worth highlighting here that among the documents tabled today are the Tobago House of Assembly's financial statement for the financial years 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Additionally, it is important for me to note that the financial statements for 2024 are currently being finalized and is expected to be tabled before the end of fiscal 2025. This novel achievement reflects a high standard of accountability, professionalism, and a commitment to fiscal transparency. The significance of this development is unprecedented, as the Assembly will be up to date in its financial reporting requirement. This is indeed historic, as for the first time in the history of the Tobago House of Assembly, our financial statements are completed, publicized, and ready for audit. Madam Presiding Officer, this achievement is loudly saying to Tobagonians that what the PNM administration could not do during their 21 years in office, this administration, led by the Honorable Chief Secretary, and with the Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, myself, we have done it in merely 3.5 years. This is a profound testimony of the administration's commitment to public accountability, transparency, and good governance. Madam Presiding Officer, it is my sincere hope that the Minority Council on the other side gets the lesson therein, that performance beats old talk every time. We have raised the bar. Unlike the PNM, we don't see excuses as deliverables. Similarly, Madam Presiding Officer, the PNM old talkers were again severely flogged in the April 28th general election, losing the 2 seats which they held for the last 10 years. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate our members of Parliament for Tobago East, the Honorable David Thomas, and the Honorable Joel Sampson of Tobago West on their resounding victories in the expressed will of the 60,000 strong. I wish them all success, God's richest blessings, and guidance during their term in office. In the same vein, the UNC-led coalition of interests beat the PNM in Trinidad 26-13, thereby seating them comfortably in opposition where they will justifiably be for a very long time. Madam Presiding Officer, they have been politically obliterated, annihilated, politically exterminated, permanently eliminated, and disseminated from any form of governance in Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, these exciting political developments are presenting fresh opportunities for real social, economic, and constitutional transformation in Tobago. With a central government in Port of Spain that is sensitive and prepared to work collaboratively with the THA, much can be achieved for the benefit of Tobagonians. This administration wants to thank the new Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa, and her government for their early demonstrated willingness to work side by side in a productive and a progressively harmonious relationship with Tobagonians and this island government. It is against this backdrop and the elevated sense of hope and promise that the budget statement for fiscal 2026 is aptly titled Accelerating Growth, Anchoring Fiscal Stability. Madam Presiding Officer, this year's budget statement takes a pivotal departure from the traditional format. Firstly, its social, economic, and legislative development priorities are fully nested in the administration's development planning framework titled Towards the Greatest Little Island on the Planet, a Strategic Development Planning Pathway for Tobago 2025 to 2045. The planning pathway is significantly advanced and is scheduled to be launched internally at the end of June 2025. Secondly, as reported in last year's budget statement, this administration secured technical support from the IMF Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTAC, and the initial support focused on three critical areas. One, the review of the budget processes of the THA. Two, a diagnostic assessment of the THA's treasury management and accounting systems. And three, strengthening the internal audit processes. Madam Presiding Officer, an outcome from the CARTAC mission is a recommendation to reorient the Assembly's two-stage budget process. In the first stage, we present draft estimates of expenditure and revenues, which were informed by the development agenda priorities, in fulfillment of our statutory obligation under Section 41 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act of 1996. Stage 2 comes after the national budget is approved by Parliament and the allocations to the THA are known. We will return to this House with a more refined statement that presents the specific details on the actual programs, projects, and initiatives that can be realistically financed and delivered. Hence, it is my calculated decision to implement this approach. Madam Presiding Officer, I will now examine the outlook for the global and regional economies, and then we'll look at the outlook on the national and Tobago economies. Madam Presiding Officer, a scan of the global environment reflects a complex interplay of recovery, inflation, uncertainty, and geopolitical tension. After the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, many economies showed signs of resilience, with growth rates rebounding in several regions. However, significant challenges remain, including persistent inflation as well as supply chain disruptions caused by the Russian-Ukraine war. The ongoing tariff war, primarily between the United States and China, is significantly reshaping the global geopolitical and economic landscape. In addition, the expansion of the deadly conflicts in the Middle East between the Israel-Palestine and the Israel-Iran is seriously destabilizing global geopolitics and feeding uncertainty. As recent as Saturday, June 22nd, 2025, the United States of America executed a military operation, Midnight Hammer, targeting 3 sites in Iran, further escalating the crisis. Madam Presiding Officer, the International Monetary Fund projects moderate global growth, with advanced economies experiencing slower expansion compared to emerging markets. The US and the Eurozone are navigating economic slowdown, while emerging markets such as India and parts of Southeast Asia are expected to maintain robust economic growth rates. According to the US Energy Information Administration, the West Texas intermediate price of oil is forecast to average US $64 per barrel in 2025, falling to $57 US in 2026. The Henry Hub price of natural gas is expected to average $4.25 US per MMBTU in 2025, increasing to about $4.60 US in 2026. Madam Presiding Officer, as nations navigate this complex global environment, the interplay between trade policies, international relations, the global economic performance becomes more critical than ever. The uncertainty now surrounds global trade is contributing to increasing volatility in financial markets. Elevated volatility hinders investment decisions and slows down growth. Madam Presiding Officer, the future will depend on the ability and the willingness of nations to balance their economic and geopolitical interests with the imperative of maintaining a stable, strong, and interconnected global economy. The high degree of dependence and openness of our national economy to the preceding global developments makes us vulnerable, and we must take cognizance. A look at the regional economic outlook. Madam Presiding Officer, turning our attention to Latin America and the Caribbean region. The World Bank reported that the average projected growth of output is about 2.3% in 2025, increasing to 2.5% in 2026-2027. Notably, most of the region is heavily tied to the US market through export of goods, tourism services, and remittances. On the other hand, Chile and Peru are largely suppliers of metals to China. The region could see a decline in revenues and growth if demand is dampened by the evolving US-China trade war. In the Caribbean, output is expected to grow in 2026 at an average of 5.8%, driven largely by Guyana, with an expected growth of 23% in 2026. No other country in the region is expected to grow above the regional average of 5.8% in 2026. In Central America, the average expected growth in 2026 is 2.6%, while in South America, it is about 3.6%. Overall, Madam Presiding Officer, while the economic look for the region shows potential for growth, it is tempered by the global inflationary pressures, social inequalities, and external geopolitical factors. Therefore, policymakers will need to engineer comprehensive strategies that will build resilience, encourage investment, and address social challenges such as crime and violence to ensure a sustainable and inclusive economic future for the region. Madam Presiding Officer, I now turn our attention to the national outlook. The national outlook reflects a mixed landscape influenced by several factors. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, in its Monetary Policy Report of May 2025, indicated some improvements in energy sector production, supported by more robust growth in the non-energy sector. The energy sector recorded improvements in the manufacture of petrochemicals, extraction of condensate and petroleum, and in the distribution of natural gas. However, there were some declines in the exploration and extraction of crude oil and natural gas, and in asphalt and refining subsectors. The non-energy sector, though, realized improvements in manufacturing, excluding the refining and petrochemicals, but in finance and insurance activities, trade and repairs, excluding energy, and in the transport and storage subsectors. Slight declines were recorded in communication, construction, accommodation, and food services sectors. Adjacently, the country's gross official reserves, as at the end of February 2025, stood at US $5.3 billion, which represents about 7.5 months of import cover. The Heritage and Stabilization Fund stood at US $5.8 billion as at the end of December 2024. Madam Presiding Officer, an average of the unemployment rate an average unemployment rate of 5% in the fourth quarter of 2024 was reported by the Central Statistical Office, CSO. While the unemployment rate is showing signs of improvement, sustainable job creation remains a critical priority, especially for our youths. On the other hand, as of April 2025, headline inflation stood at an average of 1.5%, driven heavily by the increase in food inflation of 4.7%, while core inflation rose only slightly by 0.7%. Therefore, in terms of inflation, Trinidad and Tobago has experienced moderate levels influenced by lingering effects of global supply chain disruptions and local economic conditions. Madam Presiding Officer, while the national economic outlook is cautiously optimistic, it significantly hinges on the global energy market and the ability of the new government, to effectively address domestic challenges such as crime, youth unemployment, and inequalities. Therefore, targeted investment in infrastructure, education, poverty reduction, public safety, economic diversification, and innovation will be crucial for achieving sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Madam Presiding Officer, the Minister of Finance, in his recent mid-year review, highlighted the troubling economic reality we are facing as a country. He revealed that over the last decade, both domestic and external debt have increased significantly. The external debt ballooned from US $2 billion to US $5.5 billion, an alarming increase of 167%. The national economy contracted by 20%, with the non-energy sector experiencing a 12% decline and the energy sector contracting by 33%. Net foreign exchange has plummeted from US $10.5 billion to US $5.3 billion. Even more concerning is that we are now left with only 7.5 months of import cover. The overall fiscal deficit is now projected to be TT 9.67 billion, up from 5.51 billion originally forecasted. What this data points to is that the former PNM administration has consistently misrepresented and misled the entire population about our economic realities. But this should not surprise us here in Tobago. It is the same disastrous economic and financial situation this administration inherited from the PNM administration after 21 years of mismanagement, squandermania, and wasteful governance. The local economic outlook. Madam Presiding Officer, the 2024 gross domestic product, GDP, for Tobago indicates that the island's GDP at constant prices rose from 1.66 billion in 2023 to 1.71 billion in 2024, a 3% increase in real GDP. The key factors driving this increase were government of 4.4%, financial services 4.9%, distribution and restaurants 9.1%. It is worth noting here that there is no fundamental change in the sectoral composition of the island's GDP, with the government sector accounting for 46%, financial services sector 27%, tourism 14%, agriculture and manufacturing together contributed 2%. Madam Presiding Officer, the latest labor market statistics from the Central Statistical Office for Tobago revealed that between the last quarter of 2021 and the fourth quarter of 2024, approximately 4,000 new jobs were created in Tobago. The rate of unemployment was only 1%, much lower than the national unemployment of 4%. Approximately 54% of the labor force in Tobago was employed in the state sector, with the private sector employing about 46%. By contrast, nationally, 25% of the labor force was employed in the state sector, with the private sector employing about 75%. Moreover, the share of the labor force in Tobago with tertiary education as the highest level of attainment was 22%. The share of secondary education as the highest level was 58%. The share of primary education as the highest level was about 20%. Madam Presiding Officer, the educational construct of the labor force may present long-term implications for productivity levels on the island. Madam Presiding Officer, the most recent data on prices available from the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago suggests that Tobago recorded headline and food inflation in April 2025 of 2.3% and 2.4% respectively. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy, was recorded at 2%. It is interesting to note that for the 12-month ending April 2025, headline, food price, and core inflation all averaged 1%, suggesting that inflation on the island has been kept at moderate levels, or to moderate levels. I now turn my attention to highlighting some of the key achievements of this administration. Madam Presiding Officer, reflecting on the past 3.5 years, this administration has a lot to be thankful for and to celebrate, notwithstanding having to deal with unjustified, imposed fiscal constraints and unprecedented political interference from the past PNM central government. However, we remain steadfast to our ambition of making Tobago the greatest little island on the planet and delivered extensively to the people of Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, I will now go through the achievements in several sectors. In the area of physical and social infrastructure development, we delivered the following. We eased traffic congestion and enhanced public safety along a critical 600-meter segment in the vicinity of the Canby gas station by widening the road, realigning the sidewalk, and installing traffic signs and relocating utilities. We mitigated critical road erosion through retaining wall systems along the Idlewild Trace by improving access and safety for approximately 100 residents. We completed the Mount Mary to Dutchford Connector Road, alleviating commuting delays for commuters, parents, and students, enhancing egress in Scarborough. We improved the King Peters Bay Road access by constructing a bridge crossing, 400 meters of road widening and paving, curb and slipper drainage for a major thoroughfare for both residents and tourists in the north of the island. We created a seamless link between the Cano Bay Road and the Store Bay Local Road through the construction of several road networks, including 2.5 kilometers of carriageway with drainage systems, 2 roundabouts, improving traffic flow, reducing travel time, and enhancing road safety. We rehabilitated the Grugu Patch Road by undertaking improvement works consisting of the construction of a bridge, retaining wall, culvert crossing, box drain, and widening the roadway. We also paved 253 meters of roadway, constructed box drains and curb and slipper drains along the north side road to provide safe and reliable access to Castara. We engaged more than 2,750 community workers in the Community Restoration Program, also known as the 10 on 10 off program, enhancing the capacity to deliver timely infrastructure services while providing short-term employment and community project involvement. We successfully cleaned approximately 15 kilometers of coastline from Scarborough to Crown Point, removing 60,000 barrels of oily liquid waste and 24,000 cubic yards of oily solid waste emanating from the oil spill, which occurred in February of 2024, Tobago's largest ecological disaster. We constructed the Corland Beach Sporting Arena, the first major sporting facility built on the island in over a decade. We completed the electrification of the Patience Hill Recreational Ground and commenced electrification works at the Louisdor Recreational Ground. We upgraded the swimming pools at Kendall and YMCA at Corland. Madam Presiding Officer, please permit me to highlight some of the primary achievements in the social sector. We commissioned and operationalized this Roxborough Hospital, taking tertiary level care directly to Tobago to Tobagonians in the east and northeast of the island. Services available at the Roxborough Hospital include, but is not limited to, a dialysis unit with 5 dialysis chairs, which has delivered almost 3,000 life-saving treatment sessions over the past 3.5 years, 24-hour emergency care and inpatient care services, cataract surgeries with more than 2,000 successfully completed. We also acquired cataract-related equipment at a cost of $1.3 million. We acquired and currently are installing a new computed tomography or CT scan machine at the Scarborough General Hospital at a cost of $8.7 million. We enhanced service delivery at the Scarborough General Hospital, which is now accredited as a baby-friendly hospital by the World Health Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund. We increased the limit of the emergency food cards from $500 to an upper limit of $1,500, which is dependent on the size of the family, delivering enhanced benefits to Tobagonians. We provided financial assistance to 2,856 students under the Grant for Children in Need to assist them with school expenses such as books, stationery, and corrective lenses. We successfully upgraded and repaired 54 schools, and that includes the early childhood centers, primary and secondary schools, to the tune of $100 million under the School Repairs Program. We provided financial assistance to 265 tertiary level students under the Financial Assistance to Tertiary Students Program to the tune of $16.4 million over the last 3.5 years. We also provided nutritious and wholesome breakfast daily to approximately 3,000 students and daily lunches to 12,000 students at a total cost over the 3 years of $106 million. In addition, we have provided meals for students on the first and last week of the school term, unlike what exists in Trinidad. We exposed 750 young persons to the world of work through the Youth Department and the Youth Energized for Success program. We successfully trained approximately 5,100 persons in the vocational skills program under the Community Development, Youth Development and Sport over the last 3.5 years. We successfully hosted major regional sports tourism events, including the Commonwealth Youth Games, Regional Caribbean Under-14 Football Championship, the Tobago Cycle Classic, the inaugural Tobago Sand Slam Rugby Fest 2024, the 2024 Special Olympic Beach Games, and the Dream 11 Cricket Tournament. We have distributed in excess of $26 million in grants and subsidies, benefiting approximately 580 residents through various instruments under the Home Improvement Program. We distributed over 140 parcels of land at developments including Bleming, Buku, Belgarden, Castara, Corland, and Killigwin. We collaborated with Habitat for Humanity to provide necessary roof repairs, benefiting over 75 households at a cost of $3 million. We undertook and successfully executed the largest single street lighting exercise in the history of Tobago. installation of 516 streetlights across the island, inclusive of 113 between Kings Bay and Speyside, which had been in partial darkness for decades. We invested $1.03 million in the program for rural electrification to the direct benefit of 90 families. We established and operationalized the Housing Assistance Repair and Transformation Program, HART, to improve the efficiency, transparency, and accountability in delivering of housing assistance grants to Tobagonians. Madam Presiding Officer, with regard to achievements in our financial and economic operations, under this administration, approximately 4,000 new jobs were created between the last quarter of 2021 and the last quarter of 2024 here in Tobago. We maintained low unemployment rates, averaging 2.4% over the last 3.5 years. We successfully streamlined the division's financial operations by reducing the number of operational bank accounts from about 45 to just 4. This consolidation significantly improved liquidity management, internal controls, financial oversight, and cost. We negotiated a more efficient and predictable release schedule for subventions from the Ministry of Finance, which led to a 75% reduction in the overdraft interest payments, resulting in substantial cost savings for the Tobago House of Assembly. Only last week, we launched the Loan Guarantee Program to support access to finance for small, medium-sized enterprises, providing collateral backing to encourage greater lending by the enlisted financial institutions. We also established the Tobago Development Fund, which is set to become fully operational in the first quarter of fiscal 2026. This entity is designed to drive strategic investment in key sectors, support enterprise development, and promote inclusive economic growth across the island. We operationalized the Treasury Management Unit under the Office of the Director of Finance. The Treasury Management Unit enhances the monitoring and management of the Assembly's financial resources, reinforcing the principles of accountability, transparency, and fiscal discipline. And with the operationalization of the Treasury Management Unit, we were able to complete and table 6 financial statements today. We completed and submitted the outstanding financial statements for the fiscal 2018 to 2023, and this marks a major milestone in restoring trust, enabling timely audits, and improving overall financial governance. We enhanced and increased support to entrepreneurs, benefiting a total of 320 Tobago-based entrepreneurs and business owners over the last 3.5 years through grant and loan assistance programs. This initiative has helped to catalyze innovation, job creation, and economic resilience at grassroots levels. We increased wages and salaries of the CPEP and URP daily paid workers, putting an additional $95 million into their pockets over the last 3.5 years. We have also invested $36.1 million under the Tourism Accommodation Relief Grants Program to the benefit of 124 applicants, and $5 million under the Tourism Accommodation Upgrade Program to the benefit of 46 applicants. We introduced and successfully hosted the Tobago Carnival in October 2022, 2023, and 2024, with accommodation properties reporting between 80 to 100% occupancy during the peak days, and an estimated direct and indirect visitor expenditure of over $15 million here in Tobago per year. We established the Tobago Agriculture Research Institute that is focused on delivering industry-relevant training programs in modern, climate-smart agriculture, equipping farmers and agri-entrepreneurs with skills and innovation to drive Tobago's food security and food sovereignty agenda. We facilitated training and certification of over 1,000 farmers, agro-processors, and fisherfolk, empowering Tobago's primary producers with modern skills, improved techniques, and recognized credentials to enhance productivity and increase market competitiveness. We acquired 6 wheel tractors, 1 excavator, a trailer truck, 1 dump truck, to significantly enhance the operational efficiency, responsiveness, and service capacity of the tractor pool department, thereby strengthening support to farmers and community-based land preparation services across Tobago. We successfully executed major upgrades and refurbishment works to key facilities across Tobago, namely Roxborough Fishing Facility, Bloody Bay Orientation Center, Barbados Bay Fishing Facility, the Culloden Fish Facility, the Buku Beach Facility and Research Center. We also upgraded the Buku Training Facility and the Shore Park Packing House. Madam Presiding Officer, the foregoing represents some of what we were able to achieve over the past 3.5 years and 6 months. Our achievements and deliveries were many and multifaceted, in that they covered a wide range of social and economic development sectors and issues. Madam Presiding Officer, we intend to publish and publicize our achievements in a separate publication before the end of calendar year 2025. Madam Presiding Officer, I will now set out to detail the administration's development agenda priorities for fiscal 2026. Madam Presiding Officer, when this administration took control of the Assembly in December 2021, we inherited liabilities of approximately $1 billion, fiscal and financial instability occasioned by the monthly releases to the THA in open violation of the law. We had a 21-year of battered and broken public service and people without a unified vision. We moved quickly ahead of the irrelevant political noises and presented an all-embracing, ambitious vision for making Tobago the greatest little island on the planet, child by child, family by family, village by village. This vision has unified, inspired, and energized Tobagonians across the entire island. Relatedly, Madam Presiding Officer, we have designed and engineered a strategic development planning pathway for the period 2025 to 2045. This is Tobago's new approved development architecture, which will guide, manage, monitor, and evaluate the island's socio-economic and political transformation towards becoming the greatest little island on the planet. Our strategic development planning pathway presents and articulates 21 development agenda priorities. They will be outlined and lettered A to U that will guide and inform our development programs and projects. Relatedly, we have established and deployed our institutional strategy, which is strategic selectivity, to guide social and economic development programming and associated capital investments. More importantly, Madam Presiding Officer, Tobagonians are now vested with a very clear and precise knowledge of the minimal constitutional transformative provisions necessary to satisfy our right to self-determination. It is against this backdrop that our development agenda priorities for fiscal 2026 speak directly to accelerating growth, anchoring fiscal stability, which is the theme of this budget statement. Putting Tobago on an accelerated socio-economic path and anchoring the island's fiscal and financial stability are critically urgent and important development priorities for this administration. Madam Presiding Officer, purpose-driven economic growth and fiscal stability are significant transformative variables in Tobago's short and medium-term strategic planning pathway. Therefore, our targeted economic growth program for fiscal 2026 is designed to foster sustainable job creation, grow GDP, improve and expand our public infrastructure, elevate efficiency in the public service and its delivery, enhance living standards, increase tax revenues, and anchor fiscal stability. In this regard, Madam Presiding Officer, we intend to make targeted investments in strategically selected economies and areas such as tourism, agriculture, micro, small, and medium enterprises sector, infrastructure, digitization with high uptake in artificial intelligence, and human capital development. Madam Presiding Officer, based on the analysis of the day-to-day issues, the problems and concerns confronting Tobagonians, the work we did over the last 3.5 years, the 21 development agenda priorities within the strategic development pathway, and the deployment of our strategic selectivity framework, the following key areas were crystallized for targeted capital investment in fiscal 2026. And these 6 areas are tourism and the creative sector, agriculture, infrastructure, digital technologies, human capital development, education and training, and the micro, small, medium enterprises sector. I will now discuss each of these in turn. The tourism and creative sector. Madam Presiding Officer, tourism remains a cornerstone of Tobago's economy, which is relatively unexploited potential of attracting increased number of visitors to our pristine beaches, coral reefs, green environmental credentials, and vibrant cultural festivals. Tourism, therefore, is a significant growth variable in this administration and this island. The sector has shown resilience, notwithstanding its slow recovery from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, which severely upended global travel. To accelerate growth in the sector, we propose to invest in product development, destination branding, including strategic marketing campaigns, the promotion and support of high-end accommodation development projects, an increase in airlift, and upgrades and modernization of the general supporting infrastructure. Madam Presiding Officer, the development and promotion of sustainable community-based ecotourism in economies is aligned with the global trends towards responsible travel. This too is our investment matrix for this sector. Madam Presiding Officer, our growth initiatives and investments are geared towards the Development Agenda Priority R, which articulates harnessing and monetizing cultural heritage and creativity, as well as the Development Agenda Priority T, which speaks to building sustainable community tourism economies. In this regard, we will invest in the development and promotion of the following under the tourism sector. 1, the enhancement of skills and knowledge in the creative and cultural economy through training programs, including artists in residence initiatives, workshops, and educational projects that focuses on areas such as art, craft, dance, and other traditional cultural art forms. 2, promoting Tobago's cultural heritage as a unique selling point of the island's tourism product by showcasing traditional festivals, historical sites, and cultural practices to attract visitors to be eager to experience Tobago's authentic culture. 3, the development of heritage tourism packages that enables visitors to explore Tobago's cultural and historical sites, featuring guided tours, cultural performances, and interactive experiences that immerse tourists in our island's culture. 4, the creation of digital content that highlights Tobago's cultural heritage, including vlogs, blogs, social media posts, and online exhibitions, showcasing the island's traditions, art, and history to the world. 5, the engagement of local communities in the preservation and promotion of their cultural heritage, ensuring artistic practices are maintained and the advantages of cultural tourism are shared fairly among the island's communities. 6, a more targeted investment in airlift, especially in new regional and international markets. 7, the establishment of a committee to drive the implementation of set standards and regulations within the tourism sector. Madam Presiding Officer, our investment to accelerate growth in the tourism sector will not only generate direct employment in hotels, restaurants, and tour operations. It will also stimulate growth in related sectors, such as transportation, agriculture, and retail, thereby contributing to the overall economic vitality. Therefore, this administration is designing a 5-year 2025 to 2030 investment matrix for the tourism sector to increase its contribution to GDP to 20% by 2030 from its current levels of 14%. Madam Presiding Officer, we also propose to make an initial investment in Fiscal 2026 of $150.2 million in the island's tourism sector. Madam Presiding Officer, we are confident that this investment will crowd in private investment in the sector and further accelerate growth. The agriculture sector. Madam Presiding Officer, the agriculture sector is another critically important growth component of Tobago's economy. This sector has potential to generate sustainable employment through building of productive and safe indigenous food systems. We have prioritized growth and development in agriculture through initiatives aimed at enhancing production. One such initiative is the Mega Farming Program, which is designed to stimulate agricultural innovation, strengthen local food systems, and position agriculture as a variable and sustainable career path for Tobagonians. The program is specifically geared towards both existing and aspiring agri-entrepreneurs and individuals with a demonstrated passion for agriculture, who are committed to contributing to Tobago's food security. It encourages the use of agricultural techniques, climate-smart technologies, and entrepreneurial thinking. Additionally, this program is designed to improve labor productivity and food sovereignty by the partial and targeted redeployment of workers from the CPEP and URP programs to support existing and future agricultural projects to promote sustainable practices. The Tobago Agriculture Research Institute and the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited will provide robust educational and training opportunities. In addition, Madam Presiding Officer, our food sovereignty program that is currently being executed by the Home Gardening Unit will be expanded to include the development and encouragement of community-based agriculture that will empower local farmers and communities to control their food production systems. This approach can involve cooperative farming models and community-supported agriculture programs, as well as the promotion of agroecological farming practices focusing on sustainable and regenerative agriculture. These practices include crop rotation, agroforestry, and the use of organic fertilizers to maintain soil health and biodiversity. We are also providing financial support and technical assistance to agro-processors to scale up their production and thus uptake of outputs from the sector. Another focal area in the establishment of local seed banks to preserve and promote the use of indigenous and traditional crop varieties. This has the aim of ensuring genetic versatility, diversity, and resilience against pests, diseases, and climate change. Relatedly, the development of efficient irrigation systems to support year-round farming, particularly in areas susceptible to water shortages, is also another actionable item by this administration. This will include rainwater harvesting systems, drip irrigation, and the construction of dams and reservoirs. Madam Presiding Officer, we also propose to do an island-wide education and capacity building program to enhance farmers' knowledge on modern agricultural techniques, sustainable practices, and the use of smart agricultural technologies and science. The Tobago Agriculture Research Institute and the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited will play a lead role in this initiative. Collectively, Madam Presiding Officer, these are essential growth strategies for revitalizing and accelerating the growth and agricultural sector and advancing our achievement of the Development Agenda Priority N in our development planning pathway, which speaks to food sovereignty and food sufficiency. In this regard, we are developing a 5-year 2025 to 2030 transformative capital investment portfolio for this sector, which has been designed to increase the sector's contribution to GDP to 6% by 2030 from its current contribution of under 1%. Madam Presiding Officer, in fiscal 2026, we propose to make a capital investment of $131.9 million in the island's agriculture sector. This investment portfolio will be led by the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources and Sustainable Development, working collaboratively with farmers and other stakeholder entities that have actively participated in our pre-budget consultation. I will now turn your attention to infrastructure. Madam Presiding Officer, investment in public infrastructure is widely used as a significant economic growth accelerator. Therefore, this administration has calculated that infrastructure development will be a powerful driver of economic growth here in Tobago. Investments in predictable, reliable, and safe public transportation systems, roads, utilities, and digital infrastructure are all essential. These systems are necessary for facilitating commerce, attracting private investment, and improving the general quality of life for residents and experiences of visitors. This administration proposes to make significant investment in public infrastructure upgrades. These upgrades will take place particularly in road networks, public utilities, public housing, and coastal protection systems. Upgrades will also include enhanced airlift connectivity with both Trinidad and with international markets in order to accelerate socio-economic growth. Our investment in infrastructure projects will immediately create employment during both construction and through improved service and access in the long term. A better island transportation and communication system will reduce travel time and costs, thereby leading to efficiency in businesses and individuals with knock-on effects of enhanced productivity. Relatedly, high-quality improvements in public infrastructure landscape have the potential of attracting both domestic and foreign investors. Moreover, safe and reliable roads, ports, and utilities will enhance the general business environment, enticing companies to set up operations on the island of Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, there is also the multiplier effect of our proposed investment in infrastructure, where spend impacts leads to increased economic activities, resulting in higher consumer spending and further job creation. It also promotes social equity and inclusion by bridging gaps in the access to essential services, helping rural and marginalized communities through inclusive growth. Similarly, investment in modern infrastructure can contribute to sustainable development goals by integrating green technologies and practices that minimize negative environmental impacts. Madam Presiding Officer, a robust public infrastructure system will certainly elevate Tobago's capability to withstand shocks occasioned by natural disasters, ensuring continuity of service delivery and rapid recovery. Madam Presiding Officer, our proposed infrastructure investment initiatives are in full alignment with the Development Agenda Priority J that speaks to safe and efficient, affordable public transportation, and Development Agenda Priority K that addresses sustainable urban, suburban, and livable village communities, as well as Development Agenda Priority O that articulates affordable housing solutions for all. Relatedly, we are developing a 5-year 2025 to 2030 investment program aimed at increasing our investment in public infrastructure to 30% of GDP by 2030. In fiscal 2026, we programmed for investment of $291.2 million in public infrastructure development and improvement works. This initiative will be led by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development and the Division of Settlement, Public Utilities and Rural Development. And now turn your attention to digital technologies. Madam Presiding Officer, in the contemporary landscape of global economies and social development, digital technologies have become pivotal in accelerating growth across various sectors. Therefore, our proposed investment aimed at integrating digital tools into the business operations of the THA, governance, and everyday life will not only enhance efficiency, but it will also unlock new avenues for innovation, productivity, and competitiveness. The deployment of digital technologies will streamline processes, simplify work, reduce operational costs, and improve resource allocation. Automation and artificial intelligence will enable tasks to be performed with greater speed and accuracy, thereby significantly enhancing productivity. For instance, we have been recording improved efficiencies in our financial transactions using the online banking tool, the Automated Clearinghouse ACH, and the digital procurement platform, e-Tender. We can also leverage the use of AI, artificial intelligence, for customer service delivery and data analysis, which will increase efficiency, output, and drive socio-economic growth. Further, Madam Presiding Officer, the integration of digital technologies into the operations of the THA will break down geographical barriers, thereby enabling the man in Charlottesville or even Lansford to enjoy the same real-time access to services as the woman in Scarborough through online portals and platforms. Investments in e-government customer service portals will afford Tobagonians the enhanced options of logging in, applying for and accessing public goods and services without having to leave the comfort of their homes. Relatedly, mainstreaming the use of digital technologies has the potential of facilitating skills development and workforce empowerment, which are important for adapting to the ever-evolving labor market. A digitally skilled workforce is essential for driving innovation, operational effectiveness, and efficiency. Additionally, remote work capabilities will enable the THA to acquire talent from across diverse locations, broadening the talent pool in its public service delivery matrix. Madam Presiding Officer, digital technologies are also now playing significant roles in the achievement of sustainable economic growth. Smart technologies and big data analytics enable more efficient use of resources, contributing to environmental sustainability. For instance, the application of smart agriculture technologies optimizes water and fertilizer usage, reduces waste, enhances crop yield, and supports sustainable practices. Digital technologies are undeniably powerful accelerators of economic growth. By enhancing productivity, fostering innovation, expanding access to government goods and services, empowering the workforce, and driving sustainable practices, our deployment and integration of these technologies will reshape Tobago's socio-economic landscape. Our long-term goal is to make Tobago a data-intelligent institution and its workforce data literate, thereby transforming it into a data-driven decision-making entity. To harness this potential and achieve our goals, we have prioritized investment in digital infrastructure, training, and inclusive policies that will ensure equitable access to technology for all Tobagonians. Madam Presiding Officer, the above, or what I just said, is in keeping with the Development Agenda Priority C that defines a digitally driven, competitive society and economy, and Development Agenda Priority D, which speaks to an efficient, effective, and accountable public service. We are engineering a 5-year 2025 to 2030 capital investment program aimed at integrating and mainstreaming digital technologies into the business operations of the Assembly. Therefore, we propose to make an investment of $37.4 million in digital technologies and supporting infrastructure in fiscal 2026. This initiative will be led by the Office of the Chief Secretary in collaboration primarily with the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy and the Division of Education, Research and Technology. I now turn your attention to capital development, education and training. Madam Presiding Officer, in today's fast-paced and ever-changing socio-economic landscape, the importance of human capital development cannot be overstated. As Tobago adapts to technological advancement and shifting demands of the island's population, the need for skilled and adaptable workforce is paramount. Therefore, investment in human capital development, task-specific training, and public education are vital growth accelerators, enhancing productivity and fostering innovation. Human capital development refers to the targeted enhancement of the collective skills, knowledge, and experiences of individuals within the employment of the THA. Our proposed investment in human capital is essential for preparing workers to meet challenges of the growing and more dynamic Tobago. We have calculated that our capital investment initiative will lead to a higher employee engagement, increased overall performance, and cultivating a culture of continuous learning and worker adaptability. Our task-specific training is designed to ensure that employees are equipped with the precise skills needed to perform their tasks effectively and efficiently. This targeted approach will ensure that workers are both competent and confident in their ability to perform and meet the requirements of their jobs. It is a fact that employees who receive task-specific training tend to perform their jobs more proficiently, which leads to higher levels of output and better quality of products and services. Relatedly, when employees are well trained in specific tasks, they are more likely to innovate and contribute to process improvements. This will lead to the development of new products, services, or operational efficiencies that drive and accelerate growth. It is worth noting here, Madam Presiding Officer, that this administration has started its task-specific training program in areas such as budgeting, treasury and financial management, with the technical support of CARTAC and the Accounts Coaches Program led by the Office of the Chief Secretary. Madam Presiding Officer, while task-specific training addresses immediate skills needs, our long-term comprehensive capital development strategy takes a broader approach by focusing on the island's entire educational system, honing in on how we are educating our children and the related learning achievements and outcome. In this regard, the modernization of the island's educational system to deliver 21st century learning opportunities and knowledge outcome is a critically important development agenda priority of this administration. Our reform program will span from preschool to tertiary level education with an intense focus on special needs students. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration is developing a 2025 to 2030 capital investment program to enhance the island's human resource capabilities and general education achievements. This investment program is geared towards the realization of the Development Agenda Priority B, which speaks to a highly educated and innovative population, and Development Agenda Priority Q, which articulates full inclusion of all persons with disabilities and special needs in all aspects of the society and economy. The precise goal is to increase the percentage of the island's workforce with post-secondary education to 30% by 2030 from its current level of 22%. In fiscal 2026, we propose to invest $159.9 million in our Human Resource Development Program. The Division of Education, Research and Technology and the Office of the Chief Secretary will lead this initiative. Micro, small and medium enterprises sector. Madam Presiding Officer, targeted investment in micro, small, and medium enterprises sector are increasingly being recognized as a cogent accelerator of socioeconomic growth and development. The Tobago Business Register 2023 revealed that in excess of 90% of businesses in Tobago are categorized as micro, small, and medium enterprises. In small developing economies like ours, MSMEs are significant contributors to employment, accounting to a substantial share of jobs outside of the government sector, where formal employment opportunities are limited. Our targeted investment in MSMEs are not aimed only at job creation, but reducing unemployment, and reducing unemployment, but to anchor economic stability and resilience. Madam Presiding Officer, by providing financial support, access to business management technologies and training resources, we are empowering the island's MSMEs to scale up, innovate, develop new products, and improve goods and services. Innovation and scaling are critical for enhancing our economic competitiveness and driving socio-economic growth, as they will encourage a culture of creativity and problem solving. MSMEs set up a significant pathway to employment for marginalized groups, including women and youth, who face barriers entering the formal labor market. Madam Presiding Officer, our investment records in this sector through the Business Development Unit and the Venture Capital Equity Fund Limited have facilitated economic empowerment by providing individuals with the necessary skills and financing to start and grow their businesses. Therefore, this administration has calculated that our proposed targeted investment in the sector will not only enhance the livelihood of the beneficiaries, but also contribute to a more equitable socio-economic landscape, reducing income disparities and build social cohesion and stability. Our calculated and targeted outcome, Madam Presiding Officer, is to increase the MSME sector's contribution to the island's GDP and employment, thereby reducing current share of the labor force employed in the state sector from its current 54%. As we continue to implement business development policies and programs, such as the Tobago Development Fund and the Loan Guarantee Program, which was formally launched last week. These initiatives will provide technical support and access to cost-efficient financing to the MSMEs, thereby impacting their ability to scale operations and increase productivity and production. Madam Presiding Officer, the research has shown that there is a great need for technical and business administrative support in the MSME sector. As such, the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy is partnering with the Tobago arm of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago towards ensuring that this much-needed support is provided and readily available to all operatives in the sector. This administration understands, Madam Presiding Officer, that investing in micro, small, and medium enterprises serves as a critical growth accelerator, driving economic development and ensuring an equitable future for all. Our proposed targeted investment in the MSME sector is in alignment with the Development Agenda Priority A, which speaks to a targeted GDP growth through capital investment in small, micro, and medium-sized enterprises and also large enterprises. We are formulating a 5-year 2025 to 2030 investment program aimed at growing the sector's contribution to GDP. In fiscal 2026, we propose to make an investment of $93.5 million in the island's MSME sector. This investment portfolio will be administered and managed by the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, working collaboratively with other stakeholders and financial institutions. I now turn your attention to other critical sectors. Madam Presiding Officer, in addition to the areas and sectors presented before, for growth accelerated targeted capital investment for fiscal 2026, we will continue to expand and enhance our works and spend in healthcare service delivery, community development, youth development, sport, settlements, public utilities, and rural development. We view these areas as very important in maintaining and improving the quality of life and standard of living of Tobagonians. Therefore, in the case of healthcare delivery improvement in fiscal 2026, we will continue with the acquisition of new and modern diagnostic machinery, as well as medical digital technologies, including artificial intelligence, to be used to analyze and report on diagnostic data and images. We also propose to do physical infrastructure expansion works on both the Scarborough and Roxborough hospitals to better accommodate and meet the growing needs of our clients. Relatedly, infrastructure upgrade works are also programmed to be executed on some of the island's primary healthcare facilities. Moreover, Madam Presiding Officer, we will continue to take all the necessary steps and required actions to enhance the public healthcare experiences, inclusive of a reduction in wait time and an increase in the healthy life expectancy of Tobagonians at birth to 70 years from its current level of 62 years. Madam Presiding Officer, our proposed program of works is aimed ultimately at improving the island's healthcare services delivery, public health improvements, and protecting the most socially vulnerable in the society. This work program is in direct alignment with our Development Agenda Priority E, that articulates a modern and efficient healthcare system, and Development Agenda Priority H, that addresses the protection and care of the most socially vulnerable in the society. Madam Presiding Officer, our aim is to create a spiritually fulfilled and prosperous, happy citizenry, which is anchored in our Development Agenda Priority P. In this regard, we are developing a 5-year 2025 to 2030 investment matrix, which is being designed to initiate the modernization and the elevation of efficiency in Tobago's healthcare and social service delivery systems. Madam Presiding Officer, in fiscal 2026, we are proposing a capital investment of $670.4 million, and the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection will lead this initiative in collaboration with the Tobago Regional Health Authority. In the work programs of the Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Madam Presiding Officer, we will continue with increased focus and effort to transform our island into a socially and economically sustainable and safe community. In this regard, we will strategically increase our spend towards ensuring that our communities are safe and have appropriate green and functioning social infrastructure to adequately meet their needs. Relatedly, Madam Presiding Officer, given that Tobago is in the main an island of coastal communities, we will promote adaptation to climate change and living with the sea. This will include coastal protection and restoration, sustainable water management, and the building of climate-resilient public infrastructure. Adjacently, we will continue to mobilize and organize and empower residents and community groups to participate and take control of the social, cultural, and economic fabric of our communities. Madam Presiding Officer, in the areas of youth development and sport, this administration will continue to provide technical skills training and capacity development opportunities for the island's youth and young people through programs such as the community-based vocational training and the youth internship programs. Relatedly, our sport development work for Fiscal 2026 aims at starting the monetization of sport and outdoor recreation. This will commence with valuing Tobago's current and future sporting talents, as well as its outdoor and indoor recreational spaces, and the identification of opportunities that can act as a catalyst for investing in sports infrastructure. In this regard, we will invest in the development of a pathway for harnessing the island's talented athletes through an amateur to professional sports pipeline and the construction of modern state-of-the-art facilities to support this initiative. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration intends to use sport as a vehicle for the diversification of the tourism offerings, building on several ongoing initiatives, such as the International Youth Cricket Tournament and the International Diving Meet. These and other upcoming events are being led by the recently established Sport Tourism Unit, working in collaboration with the relative sporting agencies, associations, and other community stakeholders. Madam Presiding Officer, our proposed program of works in the areas of youth, development, and sport, informed by the Development Agenda Priority S, which speaks to monetizing sports and outdoor recreation. We are building a 5-year 2025 to 2030 investment portfolio for the development of our youth and the monetization of sport. In fiscal 2026, we propose to invest $96.1 million in these initiatives. Madam Presiding Officer, our portfolio of works in settlement, public utilities, and rural development goes beyond our public housing infrastructure works mentioned earlier. Central to this division's work is the provision of affordable housing, which will ensure that all Tobagonians have access to housing solutions designed to meet existing demands and needs while also considering future demands and needs based on population growth and household formation rates. Madam Presiding Officer, we emphasize needs in addition to demand because given the price of land and housing services in Tobago and the land's relatively low average income, and the island's, relatively low average income, many residents are unable to participate in the open housing market. In this regard, this administration has developed a suite of initiatives, including subsidized housing for first-time homeowners, social housing, land affordability schemes, resilient housing designs, rental assistance, home improvement grants, and subsidies. These initiatives are in direct alignment with the Development Agenda Priority O, which emphasizes affordable housing solution for all. Relatedly, we are engineering a 2025 to 2035 year plan investment matrix, which is being designed towards achievement of that development agenda priority. In fiscal 2026, an investment of $134.2 million is programmed to fund these initiatives. The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development will lead the implementation and management of this work program in collaboration with the Tobago Urban and Rural Housing Company and other international and national industry stakeholders. Madam Presiding Officer, I now turn your attention to the policies and strategies to anchor fiscal stability. Fiscal stability refers to the ability of a government to manage its finances sustainably, ensuring that its revenues are sufficient to meet expenditure without having to resort to excessive borrowing. Stable fiscal policies create an environment conducive to investment and economic growth. Fiscal stability enhances public trust and confidence in government with stable revenues to fund essential public services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. A government anchored by fiscal stability is better equipped to handle economic shocks occasioned by recession or natural disasters. Fiscal stability is therefore the foundation on which sustainable economic development and social well-being are built. Unfortunately, the Tobago Island government, that is the THA, is currently constitutionally and legislatively debarred from exercising any authority for fiscal policy matters on the island outside of revenue collection. In our colonial Republican constitutional construct, Madam Presiding Officer, all authority for fiscal policy is vested in the central government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Hi, good day. Can you kindly turn off your phones or place them on silent? Should I hear a phone ringing off again, you will be asked to kindly step outside. And that goes for all, both members and visitors to this house. Thank you. Member, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. In our colonial Republican constitutional construct, all authority for fiscal policy is vested in the central government of Trinidad and Tobago. Therefore, fiscal stability for the Tobago Island government can only be anchored by the effective and meaningful completion of the decades-old ongoing internal self-government project, which was purposely stalled over the last 10 years. In this regard, and seemingly with a more progressive and reasonable new central government in office, this administration will aggressively and relentlessly pursue the required constitutional transformation and adjacent legislative changes that will effectively accord Tobagonians our rights to self-determination. Madam Presiding Officer, immediately after the elections of April 28, this administration developed and presented its pathway to internal self-government. In fact, it was only last month that the Honorable Chief Secretary presented a motion seeking to collaboratively advance the completion of this self-government project. Sadly, but not surprisingly, the motion was passed without the express support of the two minority sides. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration and Tobagonians are now clinically aware of the minimum transformative constitutional amendments necessary to complete our internal self-government project. In the context of building fiscal stability, a constitutional guarantee of a minimum of 7% of our national budget and any other allocation must be appropriated to meet the expenditure of the THA in any given fiscal year. Additionally, the new internal self-government constitutional arrangements must promote and protect the rights of the THA to borrow and to directly access grant funding from international agencies without the need for any non-objection from Port of Spain in Trinidad. These critical provisions will clothe the fiscal and financial operations of the THA with integrity, clarity, predictability, and anchor its stability. They also provide pillars on which a just and equitable fair share revenue framework will be built and sustained. Madam Presiding Officer, our proposed strategic investments to accelerate growth in various sectors of the island's economy will broaden the tax base, thereby increasing revenues, which will help anchor fiscal stability. Controlling expenditures with deliberate focus on eliminating wasteful expenditure and ensuring that spending is directed towards programs and projects that yield the highest spend impacts will contribute to fiscal stability. Relatedly, the setting of clear fiscal rules will limit budget deficits and deficit levels. The establishment of a debt management framework, the regular monitoring of fiscal performance, and evaluating outcomes of deployed strategies are other anchors in this fiscal stability matrix. Madam Presiding Officer, the outstanding balance of the $1 billion liabilities that were inherited in December 2021 from the former PNM administration continues to pose a serious threat to our efforts to achieve fiscal stability. In our restricted space, we managed and paid approximately $300 million for recurrent liabilities and over $75 million in development program debts owed to contractors without compromising our development program and service delivery. In this regard, we are in discussion with the Minister of Finance on the financing strategies to meet the bond financing $165 million bullet payment that is due in 2027. We are also seeking reimbursement from the central government for the $15 million we use from our contingency funds to meet the associated oil spill cleanup works. Madam Presiding Officer, the foregoing suite of strategic initiatives aimed at anchoring fiscal stability in the operations of the THA and its allied agencies is directly aligned with the Development Agenda Priority F that emphasizes constitutional autonomy within the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. These initiatives will be led by the Office of the Chief Secretary and the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy. In fiscal 2026, an investment of $7 million has been budgeted to fund these initiatives. I now present the draft estimates of expenditure for fiscal 2026. Madam Presiding Officer, for fiscal 2026, the total estimates of expenditure amount to $3.71 billion, of which the estimates of recurrent expenditure amount to $2.71 billion, and development program expenditure total $1 billion. Unemployment relief program expenditure estimates amount to $91.9 million, and CPEP estimates of expenditure amount to $43.4 million. The total estimates of expenditure are predicated on projected national budget of $63.5 billion and a requested share of 5.9%. Let me state here, Madam Presiding Officer, that any allocation to the THA in fiscal 2026 that is less than 5.9% will constitute a non-alleviation of the per capita expenditure inequality that has defined the national budget and its appropriation bill since 1962.
Member, today is not the day. Please allow the Secretary of Finance to make her presentation uninterrupted. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Basically, all Tobago is requesting is per capita expenditure equality as a minimum revenue share to the THA, based primarily on the island's population as a percentage share of the national population. In dollars and cents, this is calculated as $5.90 out of every $100 in proposed national expenditure in fiscal 2026. Madam Presiding Officer, this is a fair, just, and reasonable request, taking into consideration that the Parliament recognized the growth in the island's population and in turn legislated an increase in the island government of Tobago from 12 to 15 seats in 2021, an increase of 25%. It must be noted, Madam Presiding Officer, that any investment in the development of the Tobago economy constitutes an investment in the development of our national economy. Tobago has a critical role to play in the national economic diversification thrust that is needed now more than ever. Our nation cannot live up to its fullest potential if a significant part of our nation is not contributing optimally to our overall development. The foregoing are the reasoned economic justification which guided our budgetary request. Recurrent expenditure estimates. Madam Presiding Officer, the recurrent estimates for fiscal 2026 total $2.71 billion and are disaggregated as follows. Personnel expenditure, $787.3 million. Goods and services, $809 million. Minor equipment purchases, $43.1 million. Current transfers and subsidies, $1,070.6 million. Madam Presiding Officer, the disaggregation of the recurrent estimates by divisions for fiscal 2026 are as follows. Assembly Legislature, $25.7 million. Office of the Chief Secretary, $184.4 million. The Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, $262.1 million. Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, $179.5 million. Division of Education, Research and Technology, $476.5 million. Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, $122.6 million. Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, $381.7 million. Division of Food Security, Natural Resources and Sustainable Development, $188.6 million. Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, $845.6 million. Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development, $43.2 million. I now turn to the development program expenditure estimates. Madam Presiding Officer, our investment estimates for the development program for fiscal 2026 total just $1 billion. The estimates are disaggregated across various sectors as follows. Pre-investment, $0.5 million. Productive sectors, $1.5 million. Economic infrastructure, $447.8 million. Social infrastructure, $435.4 million. Multi-sectoral and other services, $114.8 million. Madam Presiding Officer, in keeping with the administration's investment matrix programmed to accelerate growth, the capital investment estimates for infrastructure priorities in fiscal 2026 are $292.2 million. And I'll just repeat from my statement above that this investment will primarily be undertaken by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development. Our capital investment estimates for the tourism and creative sector priority amounts to $150.2 million. And the primary entity with making this investment in Tobago is the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation and its related special purpose entities. The digital technologies capital development estimate amount to $37.4 million. And the primary entities charged with this investment are the Office of the Chief Secretary, the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, the Division of Education, Research and Technology, and the Tobago Information Technology Limited. Madam Presiding Officer, the capital investment estimates for the human capital development, education and training development priority total $159.9 million in fiscal 2026. The primary entities responsible for the investment are the Division of Education, Research and Technology, the Office of the Chief Secretary, and the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport. In keeping with our growth accelerating strategy of making agriculture a development priority, the capital investment estimates for agriculture total $131.9 million in fiscal 2026. The capital expenditure in terms of this priority will be undertaken primarily by the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, and Sustainable Development. Madam Presiding Officer, in keeping with our development priority to grow the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector, the capital investment estimates total $93.5 million in fiscal 2025. The capital expenditure relating to this development priority will be undertaken primarily by the Division of Finance, Trade, and the Economy. As we continue to address the housing needs of Tobagonians, the capital investment estimates for this development priority in fiscal 2026 amounts to $134.2 million. The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development, and the Tobago Urban and Rural Housing Company are the entities charged with this mandate. Madam Presiding Officer, as we continue to address healthcare, public health, and social service delivery, we propose a capital investment of $670.4 million in fiscal 2026 under the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, as well as the Tobago Regional Health Authority. As we move to provide opportunities for community development, youth development, and sport, we propose an expenditure of $96.1 million in fiscal 2026. The Division of Community Development, Youth Development, and Sport is the entity charged with this mandate. Madam Presiding Officer, I now present the financing options, estimates of tax and non-tax revenues. Madam Presiding Officer, the fiscal 2026 estimates of tax and non-tax revenues are as follows. Taxes on income and profits, $152.66 million. Taxes on property, $0.4 million. Taxes on goods and services, $60.87 million. Taxes on international trade, $2.6 million. Other taxes, $7 million, with a total tax revenue from these tax revenues of $223.53 million. Other taxes or other non-tax revenues include property income taxes, $0.04 million. Other non-tax revenues, $1.94 million. Total non-tax revenue of $1.98 billion. Total revenue of $225.5 million. Madam Presiding Officer, I must note here that the total revenue projected to be collected in Tobago for fiscal 2026 of $225.5 million is not an accurate and true picture of our revenues generated in Tobago, because there are significant revenue streams generated in Tobago that are collected in Trinidad. Madam Presiding Officer, the central government has legislatively executed its long-held position to repeal the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority and the Property Tax Act. It is worth mentioning here that the THA had significant concerns with the legislative setup of the TTRA, which was raised with the former Minister of Finance, who eventually identified with our concerns. However, up to the time he was removed from office, our concerns were not materially addressed. In addition, segments of the island's population had serious issues with the property tax. Therefore, the action taken by the central government to repeal the TTRA is a much welcome development for this administration. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration intends to intensify its relationship with multilateral funding agencies such as the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the United Nations Development Programme towards enhancing access to loans, grant funding, and technical assistance. One of the major challenges experienced in accessing grant funding from multilateral agencies is the failure of the last central government to provide the required non-objection. Madam Presiding Officer, case in point, over a year ago, the IDB approved US $100,000 to assist the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy with some preparatory works for the formulation of the Tobago Development Fund. Notwithstanding several letters and phone calls to the responsible ministries, up to today, the non-objection letter was not sent to the IDB for the THA to access this much-needed financial assistance. Similarly, a US $32 million loan was approved by the IDB for the Riceland housing development and the urban revitalization of the Scarborough projects. However, due to deliberate administrative delay by the former PNM central government, we were unable to access this loan to advance these two critical projects. All these matters were recently discussed with the new central government and the IDB, and they are actively being resolved. In addition, a US $100 million loan was approved by the Development Bank of Latin America, CAF, for coastal protection and restoration works in Tobago. Since coming into office, this administration has made several attempts to access this funding without success. With the new Minister of Finance now sitting as the chairman of CAF, this certainly presents new opportunities for access to this loan, as announced in the mid-year review last week. Madam Presiding Officer, this Assembly is actively engaged in an ongoing technical assistance mission.
Minority Leader, please have a seat. Kindly continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, if I said US $100 million, that was an error. Madam Presiding Officer, the Assembly is actively engaged in an ongoing technical assistance mission from CARTAC, the Regional Technical Assistance Arm of the International Monetary Fund. I'm therefore pleased to announce that shortly following this budget presentation, we will be welcoming a CARTAC team of consultants for a diagnostic assessment of the Treasury management systems. As a result, the public can expect to see measurable improvements in the speed and efficiency of public financial management and payments made across the Assembly. In addition, a priority commitment has been made for the internal audit staff to participate in regional intensive training programs being hosted by CARTAC later this year. Madam Presiding Officer, we will continue our program, which is geared towards the development of sustainable and predictable revenue streams in our special purpose companies, thereby enhancing their ability to engage in long-term commercial borrowing and equity financing. The companies that are selected for the first phase of this program are the Studley Park Enterprises Limited, the Eco-Industrial Development Company of Tobago, and the Pigeon Point Heritage Park Company Limited. The core business activities of these companies make them ready candidates for this long-term borrowing for revenue-generating initiatives. Madam Presiding Officer, I now bring the curtain down on this presentation. I wish to reiterate, Madam Presiding Officer, that this administration's fiscal 2026 fiscal package signifies a pivotal movement in our collective journey to transform Tobago into a prosperous economy defined by sustainable growth and fiscal stability. We have carefully assessed external factors that influence our economy and tailored our strategy to mitigate risk while seizing emerging opportunities. Our development agenda priorities reflect a holistic approach to the island's socio-economic advancement as we continue the journey along the path of developing Tobago into becoming the greatest little island on the planet. By our targeted investments in tourism, agriculture, digital technologies, infrastructure, human capital development, education and training, and the micro, small, and medium enterprises sectors, we are addressing immediate needs and at the same time stabilizing a solid foundation for long-term resilience and economic diversification. Ultimately, our fundamental objective is to accelerate growth and anchor fiscal stability. Madam Presiding Officer, each sector in its crucial element within a broader tapestry of the island's economy, when strengthened, will collectively enhance our social and economic landscape. Fiscal stability remains central to our governance. The expenditure estimates presented in this document reflect the collective aspiration of the people to see social and economic transformation of our beautiful island and to improve our quality of life. They also present our persistent quest for equity in the allocation of budgetary resources to Tobago. Moreover, Madam Presiding Officer, achieving the milestone of bringing the Tobago House of Assembly's financial statements up to date is not merely a procedural accomplishment. It stands as a testament to this administration's steadfast dedication to good governance, transparency, and public accountability. It also underscores our commitment to ensuring that every dollar will be judiciously spent and strategically allocated to the benefit of Tobagonians. We have made significant advancements in enhancing the quality of life for citizens, ensuring that the benefits based on the economic policies and programs are felt across all segments of society. The gains we made send a powerful message. Progress is attainable when we work diligently and collaboratively towards a shared goal. Madam Presiding Officer, it affirms our promise to Tobagonians that their trust is well placed and their commitment, and we are committed, to upholding the principles of integrity and in transparency in all that we do. Let me take this opportunity also to thank the Honorable Chief Secretary for his leadership, his courage, his foresight, and his strength in bringing this administration to this place at this time. As we face the challenges that lie ahead, it is crucial for us to remember that the path to success is built on partnership and community engagement. I encourage every member of this assembly, our stakeholders, and all of Tobago to continue to actively participate in discussions surrounding our policies and plans aimed at making Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. Your voices, insights, and experiences are invaluable in shaping policies that respond effectively to the needs of our diverse population. Madam Presiding Officer, I want to urge us to embrace the future with a renewed vigor, positivity, hope, and determination to realize the fullest potential of Tobago. May we draw inspiration and courage from the progress that we have made and remain motivated by the possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to Tobago's advancement, and let us continue to work collaboratively as we take sound strategic steps towards achieving our shared vision of Tobago becoming the greatest little island on the planet. I thank you, and I beg to you. Madam Presiding Officer, be it resolved that this House approves the draft estimate of revenue and expenditure respecting all functions of the Tobago House of Assembly for the financial year October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026, copies of which were laid on the table at the earlier stage of this proceedings. Thank you very much. I beg to move.
Leader of Assembly Business.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that this House now stands adjourned for Thursday, 26 June at 10 a.m.
Honorable members, the question put is that this House now stands adjourned until June 26, 2025 at 10 a.m. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against, say no. The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned until June 26, 2025 at 10 a.m. Honorable members, have a good day.
Pretty little baby, pretty little baby.
Haley, when you hear about Assembly Legislature bicentennial celebration, it is writing, gala, exhibition, verse speaking competition.
From 1825 to 2025, the Assembly.
Rose!
Oh,
What happened?
Auntie, this verse hard, bad. I can't remember it. The Assembly Legislature making me head hot, man.
Hey, don't study that. We gonna fix it together. We gonna say it like a story. Better yet, we gonna say it like a little song.
This big old building, tall and wide, it keeping Tobago pride inside. From long time days, from now we see it's standing firm for you and me.
You see, that wasn't so hard, Rosie. So here what I want you to do for me. I want you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend that the Assembly Legislature verse speaking competition is on. And hear what? The prices on them, nice. So make sure and tell your friends and them. Right, Rosie?
Yes, Auntie.
Pretty little baby, I'm so in love with you.
For our bicentennial celebrations, we are going to fully immerse you in Tobago's legislative history. We are going to show you the importance of understanding oneself for the present and future development of our people. And for us, it all starts here. The celebration starts today, April 23. This marks the day that Governor F.P. Robinson laid the foundation stone for construction of the building in 1821. It took 4 years for the building to be completed, and it is considered to be one of the best examples of Georgian architecture in the region. Today, it stands uptown Scarborough for 2 centuries. And you get a chance to touch 200 years of history at this year's Night of Mystery, Saturday, 26 April 2025. It's a tour of the building, but with a twist. We kick off the first event for our babies, our future. We wanted to find a unique and creative way of including our preschoolers in our celebration. Little Voice, Big Heritage gives our preschoolers the opportunity to do a little research
with the help of mommy, daddy, and of course the teachers, to script a verse about anything legislative and present it to an audience. We'll even help by providing a breakdown of our legislative history from 1825 to 2025 for you to choose from.
The month of May is going to be jam-packed with activities for our young debaters as the highly anticipated primary plenary caravan. Our staff will visit all primary schools and begin training sessions from May 12th. Last year was definitely a learning curve for us. As we visited schools, we quickly learned our primary schoolers wanted to know more. And in an effort to fulfill our mandate of engaging and educating at all levels, we have decided to include their voices in the much talked about autonomy discussions. What will be presented? We just have to wait and see when these primary school students take over the House to hold their debate on Thursday, June 12, 2025.
Listen, we have a full calendar of events on our website. If you scan this code, it will take you straight to all the dates. There's our weekly web series on myths and memories. We tell the stories you love and easy to remember for you to share with your friends and family starting in May.
If you want a deep dive into what really happens in Tobago and not what's just in the books you've read, you'll want to be a part of our panel discussion. Tobago historians, former assemblymen, youth debaters will engage in thought-provoking discourse. Look out for This Is Us, Legacy Cultural Celebrations.
During the Tobago Heritage Festival, we would show how Tobago's legislature affected people's lives. People were restricted from becoming members of the Assembly legislature. But with the number of landed Tobagonians, things started to change. Find out more at our Tobago Heritage Festival presentation in July.
The Assembly building housed a critical part of our island's history. Through various mediums, we will host our first ever exhibition at the Tobago Fine Arts Center at Fort King George. The People's Gala is in September. It is a celebration that pays recognition to the men and women who define us. We will honor the members who fought for where we are today.
In October, we end our bicentennial celebration with a dedication ceremony to recognize the Assembly building as a heritage site.
Check out our socials regularly for updates or go to tobagolegislature.org for details.
All things flow from here. And when we think of that phrase, it's supposed to evoke some form of feeling, be it nostalgia or whatever it might be. The fact remains that when we think of Tobago, this building is the one place to which everything flowed. Be it churches, courthouses, library, finance,
Post office.
this is us. Everything flows from here.